he's probably facing a bit of a question of where he goes next. A lot of his cohort are standing down from politics. A lot are going, many think that that's because they're going to lose the next election. So they're all thinking about future careers outside politics. So I don't find it particularly surprising that he may be among those that are thinking that they'll leave Westminster at the election.
What can you tell me about Ben Wallace? Because the Times this morning has suggested, has been told Henry Zeffman's passing story says that he's been told that Ben Wallace is considering leaving government in the autumn after 4 years as Defence Secretary. He's widely considered to have been a sort of big success as Defence Secretary. Was for a time talked about as a future leader, although that didn't last very long. What do you know about what's going on there?
Well, I'd advise you to read the Sunday Times tomorrow,
right.
As ever. We are often ahead of
these...
these...
As if I wouldn't.
Ahead of these news stories, and I think we'll be able to give some more clarification on exactly what's going on then. But, I mean, just speaking more broadly, because obviously we don't want to sort of give too much away. But, I mean, it wouldn't be a complete surprise. If you think about what's been going on, Ben Wallace has been widely tipped as the next NATO General Secretary. In the last couple of weeks, there's been, extraordinary briefings going on about the position of the various European allies, where the United States stand of this, suggestion that the current incumbent, Jens Stoltenberg, is going to stay on yet again for a further extension. And now a suggestion that Ursula von der Leyen, once she finishes her current role, may also be considered for the role. But, to all intents and purposes, he has been ruled out of that position. Yep. And that was very much what we expected to be the next move for Ben Wallace. He's been a very successful Defence Secretary. He's been in Cabinet for a long time. He's often led the leadership ratings in the Cabinet. He didn't stand as leader, even though people thought that he would have had an extremely good shot at it. So I think there's a kind of natural question for him of, he's probably gone as far as he can go and wants to go. He has a particular interest and affinity with the defence brief. There's probably not another role that he would want to do within government. He's not going to get that NATO job. That's been made clear to him. So I think he's probably facing a bit of a question of where he goes next. A lot of his cohort are standing down from politics. A lot are going, many think that that's because they're going to lose the next election. So they're all thinking about future careers outside politics. So I don't find it particularly surprising that he may be among those that are thinking that they'll leave Westminster at the election.
I mean, you'd think he'd want to be Foreign Secretary, but I don't know. I mean, do you think this is linked to the small sort of fuss he got embroiled in this week, where he suggested that Ukraine should be more grateful for the weapons they were being supplied with? He appeared to suggest. I appreciate it was a bit more nuanced than that.
My understanding is no.
Right.
And actually, if you think back to those comments that he made, they almost seemed coordinated with Jake Sullivan, who said something pretty similar. So I think there is a little bit of kind of frustration going on that perhaps the demands keep coming from Kyiv that we are finding more and more difficult to actually deliver on, because we ourselves don't have a kind of open-ended supply of weapons and equipment that we can give to them. So perhaps after a year plus of dealing with this particular phenomenon, he was expressing some kind of frustration. However, as I say, it's interesting that Jake said something very similar, which suggests that there may have been sort of more conversations about that than we're led to believe. But no, I don't think it's to do with that. I mean, if he is going, I suspect it's something he's thought about for some time. As I say, lots of his friends and allies will be standing down at the election, and I think it's much more linked to the fact that NATO job has now gone elsewhere.
Understood. Well, now we come to